Have you heard that now Firebase Authentication supports sign-in with Apple? That's right. Today we are going to learn all about that. So if you want to build out this interface, make sure to subscribe to the channel, open up Xcode, and let's dive in. So let's just jump right into it. So we are going to create sign-in with Apple with Firebase. So the first thing we need to do is create an Xcode project so we can create after that with the bundle ID a Firebase app. So let's open up Xcode and yeah, this is my demo. So let's create a new project here. Okay, let me just resize this real quick so you can see everything that I'm doing right here. Nice and dandy. So let's click on next and make sure that we are in Swift UI, and let's select our theme here and product name, let's say, and all of that will be with Swift UI, but I don't really care about adding that because yeah, we already know that. Okay, and we are going to create a new folder here. So let's create a new, and let's do that in the new folder. Okay, let's create it. And there we have it. We have our sign in with view controller, and here we have our bundle ID. So let's copy that out and let's open up our Safari and go to our console and let's add a new project. I'm really working here quite fast, and let's have this name. There's a limit, I believe it's 30 characters for this. Okay, let's continue. Let's select our Google Analytics account. I'm pretty sure that you are familiar with creating your Firebase project, and I want to skip real fast to get to the meat of signing in with Apple. Now, you really will need a device for this that has an Apple ID with two-factor authentication enabled, and you need to be signed into iCloud on your device. Okay, so we are seeing this in our QuickTime player, so you can see what I'm building here. Let's go back here, and it's finishing up. Okay, let's hit continue. And first of all, let's go under authentication and let's set up our sign-in method. If you just scroll down, you can see that Apple is under beta. Let's enable it, and we are not using any web sign-in with Apple's. So we are going to hit save here, and it is enabled. Hooray! Now we're not just going to sign in, we are going to save to the database too, because yeah, that's a whole lot of things. For example, when you fetch the data from Apple for the first time, you do get a full name, but after that you will not. So upon first sign in with Apple, you need to really save everything, including the name, to the database. We are going to use Firestore, so let's click on that and let's click on there. US Central is okay. Make sure you select the one that you want because that cannot be changed later on. Okay, now while that is building up, let's just go into our Xcode project and basically let's just copy this out and close this all together because we are going to use CocoaPods. Okay, so let's open up terminal here and type in cd and the space, and if we go to our Finder, now let's just navigate to our root folder. So desktop, YouTube, this new, and there we go. Just drag and drop it right in there. And what you want to do is type in pod install, but let me just not go too far ahead. Now that the database is done, let's just go ahead and let's create our iOS project here. And as you recall, I have copied that into my clipboard, so I'm pasting it in there. Now let's register our app. Okay, let's download the Google Service Info list file. I will add that later on. Let's click on next. And what we do need is pod init for the moment. So pod init, that is, and you will see that in Finder we have created a pod file. Okay, now let's just open that up in Xcode. There we go. And let's have the platform as iOS 13 because yes, we are using Swift UI, and let's follow the documentation and add the Firebase Analytics. Okay. And you can see that we have here a link with all of the pods, and I'm just going to open that up to see the correct way to adding the pods, and we will use authentication and Cloud Firestore. So we are going to grab these two and add them in and there. I hope this isn't too fast for you. Go ahead and leave your comments down below if you have any questions. And now we are just going to pod install those pods and make sure that Firebase 6.13.0 is the minimum amount that you are installing. If not, then go ahead and run pod repo update, and then after that pod install, or if you have already run pod install, pod update, and yeah, then you can open up your Xcode workspace. So from now on, that is where we are going to work in. Let me just resize that a little bit. There we go. We have resized it really quickly. Okay, what we want to do next is just drag and drop the downloaded Google Service Info plist file. And that's really nice. Make sure that copy hyphen is needed is checked and create groups is checked. And if you have downloaded a lot of info plist files, then make sure you delete that appended, let's say 2 or 3 or whatever. Okay, let's go back to our Safari and take a look at the next steps. Okay, we have installed the pods, and now it's time to initialize our, well, configure our Firebase app. Let's import that. Let's go to our app delegate real quick and just copy that out into the application did finish launching with options. Okay, that is really nice. Let's click on next and let's skip this step. We will just take a look at the connection later on, but once you run your app, it will be a-okay. Okay. Now let's just build and run this project because now we have a lot of pods installed and it will take some time. So while it does run, and we will see that in just a moment, go ahead and click the link down below for the resources because this is quite a large app. We need to have some setup in order for you to understand how all of this works, and there are some handy helper files in there too. So make sure to download the resources. And if you take a look at the resources, you will find 3 folders: helpers, Spark, and views. Okay, let me just drag and drop these 3 into our project, and you should do the same. Okay, and let me just explain a few things about this. Well, the views are the profile view, sign-in view, and the launch screen view. And let me just remove this canvas because I don't really like that. Okay, so the canvas, well, the content view will be launched first. Okay, and here we will have some logic. We are going to check if the user is authenticated, and if we are not getting back some feedback, well, that will take a fraction of the second after the launch. We will just show the launch screen view. Now, after we do know that if the user is authenticated or not, we are going to present either the sign-in view or the profile view. Of course, if it's not, then we are going to present the sign-in view. If we have a signed-in user, then we are going to present the profile view. Okay, now what else? Here we have some helpers like the profile. This is our model. We have an activity indicator view. Not really interesting. What you really need to take a look at is the sign in with Apple view, and we have a lot of here. And if you recall my previous video about how to sign in with Apple, I dove into detail with this implementation. Let's just take a look at our file here because I've been interrupted. Let's see how it goes. Let's open that up. Yes, and let's hit OK. Let's build and run again. But build has succeeded. That's okay. So let me just continue my rant. Sign in with Apple, there are a lot of good stuff here. What I'm basically doing here is following along the documentation that is provided by, let's just go here, by Firebase. And you need to have a nonce and so on. Just go ahead and read through it if you want to. Otherwise, then just leave yourself on the implementation that I have in this sign in with Apple, and I'm just signing in, and after that I'm handling it like I am basically saving it to Firestore. Now again, make sure that you save the name to that you are given from Apple upon first launch, well, upon first sign in with Apple, because after that you will not get that. So make sure that you save that as well. And all of this profile takes care of that. As you can see here, we have our name. Now, let's take a look at Spark. We have some Spark errors, just errors handling Spark UI for the alert info and activity indicator. And Spark Firestore, this is where we retrieve our profile, merge profile, and so on. And Spark Auth, this is where we log out and sign in. Go ahead and take a look at these two. Okay, now what we have here and what I want to show you now is this Spark Auth state. And we have undefined sign out and sign in. And we are going to build out the content view with these. Now, here we have our configure Firebase did state, configure Firebase state did change. Now we are going to trigger this when we are showing the content view. And upon this, well, basically we are checking if we are logged in. And if we are signed in, then we are just going to change this published variable, and we are going to listen for that. And we are going to fetch the profile and add it to this published variable again. So let me just go into our QuickTime player. As you can see, hello world. That's okay, real nice. We are presenting our content view. Okay, so let's dive into it. First of all, I need an environment object. And this environment object needs to be added in the scene delegate, and I'm just going to create that vark environment, okay, and that is Spark. Okay, this is our environment object that we are using throughout the app and throughout the authentication. And for the content view, we are just going to add our environment object in environment. So now we can access this environment throughout the app. Okay, let's go back to the content view and access it. So add environment object var, I'm just going to call it Spark and Spark. There we go. Now we can access Spark. So what do we want to do with Spark? Let's just delete this and have some or more room here so you can see. First of all, we are going to add all of this into a Z stack because yes, we want to get back a view. And here we are just going to check if the Sparks, I believe we don't need this. Yes, that's right. So if Spark is user authenticated equals, and there are three cases, undefined. If there's undefined, then we are going to present our launch screen view. Else, if Spark again is user authenticated equals to, let's say, signed out, then we are going to present the sign in view as expected. And else, if Spark again is user authenticated equals dot signed in, then we are going to present the profile view. So profile view. Okay, now that is really nice that we can see, but let's just hit Command B so we can see that everything, Command B, everything builds out okay. Let's see. Bit has succeeded. Okay, so that is when we are listening, but we want to trigger this listening. So when we appear, so on appear, we want to have self.spark because we are in completion, and configure Firebase state did change. So this is when we just start configuring our Firebase edit change and listen for user authenticated changes. Okay, now if we build and run, we will see that we should be, well, we will see a white screen because in the sign-in view, I believe there's nothing much. But let me just see this. Do we have here? Yes, we have a white screen. But let's just take a look at the logs. It says user is signed out. Okay, it's signed out, so it should present the sign-in view. So let's take a look at the sign-in view and add our sign-in with Apple view. Okay, sign-in view. Here we have an activity indicator view that is pretty awesome, so go ahead and check it out in the files. But basically what this does is presents an activity indicator and an alert if necessary, if we have an error. So sign in with Apple view is what we want, and we will feed in the sign in with Apple view our activity indicator info binding. So $ activity indicator info, and this is presented right here. And again, another binding, the alert info at alert info, and this is here. Okay. Now, yeah, and this needs to have self because activity indicator view has its closure, so we are inside a closure. And finally, we want to add some frame because otherwise we would have this all over the screen. Now 250 is okay. Alignment, I don't care about the alignment. So let's hit Command R and see what we got here. Again, you need to have a real device to test this out because, yeah, you need to be logged into iCloud with your Apple ID. Okay, there we go. Continue with Apple. Now, if we tap on it, we get this flicker and it doesn't really work. And that is because we still need to enable our sign in with Apple capabilities. So let's go to capabilities and just search for sign in with Apple. Just double click on that. It's waiting to repair. And while we are at it, you have to delete your project at this time because the new entitlements wasn't copied to the project on your phone. So let's just build and run again, and hopefully now we will not see only that flicker. We will actually see the sheet pop up. How awesome is that? Okay, let's just wait for that. It's building, sign in with Apple. There we go. Here we have our button. Okay, now we have our continue with Apple button. Let's just tap on it and yay, the sheet popped up, and I will share my email at this point. Let's hit continue here. Signing in with Face ID, looks real nice. Saving to database, and it says hi. Okay, let's take a look at the database because that's where we need to just check because we haven't fetched our data just yet. Let's go to authentication and see that, okay, providers is Apple and the Rebeloper, my email is there. OOA is the UID of that. Now let's go to the database and see if we did save that. And for some reason we didn't. Let's just take a look at what might have happened. So we don't have anything here. So let's take a look at the logs and let's see here. It says missing or insufficient permissions, and yeah, I kind of blew it. So you should enable under the rules all read and write permissions for this to work because now we have missed that opportunity of our first sign in with Apple, and yeah, we don't get the name after this sign up, of course. And let's just do that again. Now we do have that. Of course, you will fine-tune these rules as you go on with your project. For now, let's just build and run again and see how we get all of that data inside. Yeah, we want to, yeah, we want basically log out. So there we have, let's just add in under the content view on appear. This is, let's say, dev only, and we want to have self.spark. I believe it's under Spark Auth. Yes, Spark Auth dot log out with the completion result, and we just want to print out, let's see, log out and the value of that success of that result. Okay, so let's build and run again. Now we will log out immediately. Yes, okay. And now if we hit continue with Apple, let's hit continue, signing in, done, saving to database. Okay, and it says successfully signed in with Apple with Firebase ID. And as you can see here, we have already retrieved our profile and we don't have an email. So let's just take a look at that in the console. Let's go to database. And I will just cheat it a little bit. If you enable the rules correctly, you will see that you will have a name here. So let's add our field here, name, and I will type in Alex. Let's add that in there. Okay, so let's go back to our Xcode project and visualize all of this. And to do that, let's go to the profile view, and we already have vStack here, and I will add under hi. Let me just add in here. First of all, let's add our environment object. So environment object, and now we can grab self.spark.profile and let's say name. Okay, let's build and run again and see how that looks like. Let's continue with Apple. Okay, yeah, and it's signing in. I will just remove that upon the next launch. And it says, hi Alex. No, that is pretty awesome. Now let's add some other stuff too here. First of all, under the content view, let's just uncomment this. So we don't need that anymore. But to have a logout, we will add that into our profile view. And let's add a button here. I will remove the spacer. Or rather, let's use the spacer at the bottom, so we will push everything up. So button, there we go, an action for that. And we will have our Spark Auth dot log out with completion result. There we go. And we just print out the result again. So print. And again, you don't need to worry about the logout here, so what it should do, because the handler, the completion, the Firebase handler takes care of this. And let's have a text here. And finally, we want to add some more text. And those will be spark.profile and UID. And the other text will be spark.profile and email, just so we know. Okay, and that should be it. Let's just build and run for the one last final time and see all of this in action. Okay, there we have it. We have our ID, our email, and we can log out. Let's continue again. Continue. Saving to database. There we have it. How awesome is that? So now you know how you can use Sign In with Apple with Firebase Authentication. So how awesome is that? I want you to hit that notification bell because I want you to be notified of my new series iOS development. In the meantime, make sure to check out these videos as well too. I talk a lot about Swift UI and iOS development in general, so make sure to check out these too. And as usual, I will see you in the next one.